All right, Matthew, I'm ready to put this to bed. Carson Beck is the best quarterback in college football. What say you?
No, he's not.
Let's talk about it after the stinger. Felix Sharpe here, Matthew Bruening there for campus2canton.com. Hey, we appreciate you getting us to 3,000 subscribers. Let's get to 4,000 before the NFL draft. Hit that like and subscribe button. And by the way, if you haven't played in the Campus to Canton Fantasy League, hit the link in the description box. It'll tell you everything you need to know. That's why we're talking about this, because it actually matters in our fantasy format. Matthew, I am tired, sick and tired of being made fun of for my love for Carson Beck. First of all, I was the first one on him last year. I saw what he did behind Stetson Bennett in 2022. I'm like, if this dude just keeps it up, he's going to be a great pocket passer, and that he was. You like numbers, Matthew. Let me give you some. Completed 72.4% of his passes, a 8.5 ADOT. How about this, though? 67% completion percentage on passes between 10 and 19 yards down the field. That's those intermediate routes. The only player better than him in the country with more than 74 attempts, one Bo Nix. How about those deep passes? Passes of more than 20 yards, a 41% completion percentage. Now that doesn't seem great, 41%. The only players better than him, Michael Penix Jr., 42%. Jaden Daniels actually had a ridiculous year. He had a 63.6% completion percentage on those passes. But still, I mean, you're talking about a quarterback, like I said, a pocket passer who reminds me of C.J. Stroud. He reminds me of Carson Strong, who can move in the pocket, and he is aggressive downfield. You look what he adds in 2024. London Humphreys, a deep threat. Colby Young, who's going to be open on the back shoulder all day. They just signed Ben Urosek to be their starting tight end. Oh, Trevor Etienne out of the backfield. He can catch passes too. And then you mentioned Arian Smith. If we can ever get him healthy, he's going to be the field stretcher. I don't understand what you all's problem is. Carson Beck is without a doubt the best quarterback in the country.
I mean, he is a good quarterback. Best quarterback in the country, I think, is a little bit of a stretch. I do have him in my top 5 quarterbacks overall in our Campus to Canton rankings. Again, Felix mentioned the website. Click the link below. Check it out. 1,000 players ranked. It's ridiculous between the NFL and college side of things. I've moved him up because I do agree with you on what you're talking about. Him as a pocket passer. He is. He's very clean mechanics. I actually think he has a fairly quick release. He is what I would say, like, if I were to tell a quarterback, hey, watch tape on someone in the pocket with their pocket manipulation and getting the ball out, go watch Carson Beck. Like, he's a good quarterback. And my opinion changed on him somewhat after watching the Super Bowl with Brock Purdy and seeing what Brock Purdy was able to do. Brock Purdy, obviously, 7th-round pick, Mr. Irrelevant, and Carson Beck is much better than him. I'm not trying to compare those two. My issue has always been with Carson Beck, he's not special. He's just very, very good at everything. And that's not a knock on him. I think he's going to thrive in the Georgia offense. You mentioned the weapons that they have there. They have the last year, after Stetson Bennett left, they did move closer to a 50-50 split. It was like 51% pass, 49% run. I think it probably sticks closer to that, although I wouldn't be surprised if the run becomes more prevalent for Georgia, because you mentioned they added Etienne. They still have Branson Robinson. They have Roderick Robinson. They have Andrew Paul still on that roster. A great running back room, a great offensive line, and likely one of the best defenses in the SEC. So I don't think they're going to ask Carson Beck to do a ton, which I think then limits his CFF upside. For us, that matters. Again, you mentioned we are college fantasy football. That matters for us. Last year, he finishes QB 36. Like, it's not bad. That's starter worthy most weeks. Some weeks, right? I mean, that's a QB 3. So it's starter worthy. But then going into the NFL, I just don't see his massive fantasy upside. Do I think he gets drafted no later? I don't think he falls out of the 2nd round. I'll put it that way. I still don't know that he's a 1st-round pick, but I do think that he's at least going in the 2nd round. And what I saw with Brock Purdy in the Super Bowl means that I do think he is a starting quarterback in the NFL, but the fantasy upside is limited. That's my biggest concern. I don't know that he's going to go in there and just be some dominant quarterback for you on the NFL side fantasy-wise. Now, I could be wrong. Baker Mayfield finishes a top 10 quarterback in fantasy this year. We'll see. Not everybody's Patrick Mahomes, but I don't see the special trait for Carson Beck. I just think he's really, really good at everything.
Matthew, I would like you to give me the quarterbacks you have ranked ahead of Carson Beck. And while you're doing that, I will say I think he's going to be a first-round pick. I think he's going to be a top 15 pick. Yeah. You people always need these quarterbacks to be running to see any type of potential in them and ceiling in them. We don't give quarterbacks enough credit for just doing what's required, for making open threes, for making layups, for making free throws. You know who else was good in the NFL last year? You mentioned Baker Mayfield. How about Jared Goff? How about Tua Tagovailoa? How about C.J. Stroud? They would have said the same thing about C.J. Stroud last year. He doesn't have any special traits except for placing that damn ball where it needs to be. That's why Carson Beck is my top-rated quarterback, because he hits players in stride. He allows them to keep running. If we're going to make the basketball comparison, he is consistent with that deep three. He is consistent with the mid-range jumper. I'm tired of, you know who's special? Russell Westbrook, who can't win anything. That's what you all want from the quarterback position. Somebody with all these flashy dunks and fast breaks and all of that stuff. You don't give enough credit to the guys who can just complete passes.
I mean, you know who else is special? Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. There's special players. You mentioned a couple of players. I don't disagree with you. Okay, Jared Goff, Tua. Tua is an incredible offense with weapons and a great offensive-minded head coach. C.J. Stroud, I'm sorry, this may come off as biased. I think he's a much better passer than Carson Beck, at least arm strength-wise. I think that there is not a throw on the field C.J. Stroud struggles to make. Carson Beck, I don't think, has the velocity and zip on his throws than C.J. Stroud does. So I would not put C.J. Stroud in that category. Jared Goff, Tua, and in my Brock Purdy, Baker Mayfield, fair. So maybe he can finish as a QB1. All of those guys finished. I don't think Stroud did, but all those other guys finished as QB1. So there is a shot there. For me, you asked my rankings. I was going to sound a little bit blasphemous because I know you're not as high on him. I still have Connor Wigman as my one. I think that he is a very good quarterback. I believe he can do all the same things as Carson Beck. I actually think he's a better athlete, and I do think that he fits well in with Colin Klein, who's coming over from Kansas State to be the offensive coordinator for Texas A&M. Obviously, the lack of weapons worries me a little bit, but I do think that the upside is there for him to be a first-round pick, rushing upside a little bit more. I have Nico, the Tennessee quarterback, at 2. Again, he's extremely talented with that with the arm talent. We saw how much they were willing to use him in the running game, in the bowl game. I think that continues, and we want the quarterback in the Josh Heupel offense. And because of the arm talent, I think he has a projectable NFL trait. 3 for me is Jackson Arnold, Oklahoma quarterback, same thing. The CFF upside, I worry a little bit about his NFL upside, but the CFF upside is massive. And then I do have Carson Beck coming in there at 4 currently, ahead of Arch, Drew Allar, Quinn Ewers, Shedeur Sanders, Lenora Sellers, Aiden Childs, Dylan Raiola, DJ Lagway. Those are all the guys that kind of come in right behind him. But I have Carson Beck at 4, which I don't think is an unfair rating. I just don't know that he gives you the production that any of the 3 guys ahead of him do. And I think you could argue maybe outside of Jackson Arnold, those other 3 guys also have the same first-round upside potential that Carson Beck does.
All I heard was speculation, speculation, and speculation. You can let us know what you think in the comments. Go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel, help us get to 4,000 by the NFL draft. Peace, y'all.